What if the chaos in Minneapolis wasn't a failure of leadership, but the evidence they didn't realize they were creating? Because here's what most people felt watching this unfold: confusion, frustration, and that familiar sense that, once again, the rules don't apply to the people in charge, right? Am I right or am I right? Minneapolis looked like it was spinning. Streets were flooded, federal agents boxed out, leaders pointing fingers, and a lot of Americans asked the exact same question: why didn't the president step in immediately? Now we need to go ahead and name the players clearly, okay? Donald J. Trump is in the White House. Tim Walz runs the state. Jacob Frey runs the city. And hovering over all of it is the Department of Justice, watching, documenting, and choosing its words very carefully, especially one word in particular, because this was never just about immigration and customs enforcement. This was about whether local power could openly defy federal law and get away with it. Minneapolis thought it was untouchable. Minnesota leadership acted like the federal authority was optional. And for a moment, it kind of looked like they were right. But here's the part that really stings. While critics accused Trump of hesitating, the trap was already set. Weeks earlier, quietly, methodically, Trump was at least 10 steps ahead, and every protest, every public statement, every order that crossed the line didn't weaken the case, it strengthened it. They called it chaos. Trump called it evidence. And so by the end of today's video, you're going to see exactly why Minneapolis wasn't the end game. It was the test case. Be sure to drop a like for the video, and it is totally free to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. So here's the part most people miss. Minneapolis didn't act reckless because it was desperate. It acted reckless because it believed that the rules no longer applied to them. Now, for years, the city and the broader leadership of Minnesota, for that matter, they operated under the assumption that federal immigration law was optional. It was negotiable, or maybe even politically unenforceable. That assumption bred overconfidence, not caution. So now we need to look at how Jacob Frey and Tim Walz behaved, okay? They didn't whisper, they didn't hedge, they spoke openly, publicly, repeatedly, issuing guidance, signaling resistance, and framing federal enforcement as illegitimate. This is not how people act when they think accountability is coming. This is how people act when they think that they're in sanctuary policies. They created a bubble where federal pushback felt theoretical. Minneapolis leadership assumed Washington would posture, issue statements, maybe sue, but never escalate. They believed political pressure would outweigh legal enforcement, and that belief is exactly what caused them to overplay their hand. They didn't hide coordination, they normalized it. They didn't deny obstruction, they reframed it as virtue. That's not chaos, that's miscalculation. And miscalculation is exactly how traps get sprung. And so this only works if you don't interrupt it. This is the part that critics never understood about Donald J. Trump's response. Early intervention feels decisive, but legally it's destructive. So if the White House had just rushed in at the first sign of unrest, it would have probably collapsed the very evidence that they needed to prove the intent. That would have been a mistake. Trump didn't need speed, he needed documentation, because once federal authority intervenes too quickly, everything else afterwards gets labeled provocation, basically saying, well, Trump started